Hello. Second interview. What are we doing? When they wrap up the first interview, they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna send you an email in 2 to 5 business days telling you how you did. I followed up with them twice because it was more than 2 to 5 business days. It was about 7 business days. Let's say you've done well. You're gonna get an email that says, Dear your name, we are pleased to inform you that you have passed the orientation and preliminary interview stage. We would like to set up a one-on-one Skype interview with you at your earliest convenience. And so it's kind of similar. They're gonna have some time slots and you're gonna say, I want this time slot, and you set up a time and then they email you back. Afterwards, you set up your other interview. Once you get to your interview, right, remember what I said previously, show up early. Punctuality is key. Wear a suit. Be nicely dressed. Be personable. Though this is an interview, it's very professional. You're probably going to get interviewed by someone who is not Japanese. My interviewer was some person from Ohio. They start off the interview and said, you talk for a little bit. 3 different parts for the second interview as well. The first one is they're going to ask you personal questions. Why are you a good teacher? Like, what makes you a good teacher? Or something along the lines of, like, why do you want to teach in Japan specifically? When was a difficult time? When you had a difficult time with a coworker or customer, and how did you solve that problem? What would you do if one or more students were being disruptive? How would you do that? How would you handle that situation? That's the kind of first part. Then they're going to ask you some more kind of follow-up questions based on the information that you sent them. Hey, do you have any tattoos? Were you ever charged with a felony? Do you mind going to a rural area in Japan, or do you want to stay in the city? What are some of the areas that you'd like to, work in? Have you ever been to Japan before? Do you speak Japanese? There's a second part to the interview, and it's the challenge section. The challenge section begins with a teaching exercise, right? It's like, I'm going to be a Japanese student, and you're gonna have to try and teach me, and they're gonna give you exactly what they want you to teach. For me, it was, okay, explain good and bad with fruit. They'll either say, hey, do you want a minute to prepare, or do you want to just jump into it? Me, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna jump into it. I used different props. I literally used like a controller or something to represent a banana. Do your best. The second part of the challenge section of the interview is going to be entirely in Japanese. They're going to just ask you different questions like, have you ever been to Japan in Japanese? Have you ever climbed Mount Fuji? And if you have a basic command of the language, you should be able to understand most of what happened. The last part of the interview, the last section of the interview, is a question section, which I recommend you have 3 or 4 different questions, like in any interview, right? They're going to finish off with, do you have any questions for me? And generally, one question I like to ask is, what are some goals that someone who's excelling at their position meets right away? Or what do you see in a newly hired person that makes them successful later down the line? And then ask questions about their experience teaching. What are some things that what are some difficulties that I'm gonna run into when it comes to teaching in Japan? And that's the secondary interview process, right? And then another 2 to 5 business days will go by, and then they're gonna send you an email saying whether or not you got the job. They're gonna say, hey, thank you for your patience during our hiring process. After carefully reviewing all documents and conducting Skype interviews with you, we are pleased to announce that we would like to offer you a position working as an ALT beginning in April of 2022. Taking into account your answers on the interview and your experience, the remuneration that we can offer you in your position is as follows. They tell you how much you're going to get paid, and they'll ask you questions. They'll be like, okay, do you want a non-driving position or a driving position? Then you need to send them your headshot, generally with a white background in a professional attire. You have a valid passport, obviously, so send them your passport page. Afterwards, you're going to get an email from the person that's going to help you kind of go through the process of getting your visa and all that. You're going to have to also send them your passport photo. The times that you have documented in your passport that you've gone into Japan and come out of Japan, your university diploma, and any professional certificates that you have. If you have a TEFL certificate, send that in. If you're a translator and you have a translation certificate, send that in. Whatever you have that's going to help your case, send that in. Afterwards, they're going to send you some stuff from Borderlink, timeline that is going to be established from kind of the point where you're at to when you should be in Japan. They're going to send you a Borderlink newsletter, kind of just describing like what's going on. A language packet, so you're going to learn some basic Japanese. So if you have no jumping off point for Japanese, this is going to be it. They're going to teach you hiragana, katakana, some kanji, all those kinds of things. Throughout the time that you're waiting, there's going to be different like meetings and group meetings where you get to meet your fellow ALTs. Speak some Japanese if you're learning. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Remember that at this moment in time, I'm not in Japan right now. I'm still in Hawaii. If you need any help, I will help you as best I can. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate you. Stay tuned. We're gonna document it all. You're going to see me apply for my visa. You're gonna see me get my visa. You're gonna see me pack my bags. You're gonna see me do all of these things. And then together, you and me, we're going to Japan. With that being said, you know, when the next thing happens, I will most certainly keep you informed, let you know what is the next step. I want you to be a part of this process just as much as I am. So, until next time. Oh, my beard. My beard is a mess.